Order our working session at 6:43 p.m. Do I have a volunteer for the flag acknowledgement? Anyone?
I'll read it. I've never read it.
All right, thank you.
Truth and acknowledgement are critical to building mutual respect and connection across differences. Please take a moment to consider the many legacies of violence, displacement, migration, and settlement that bring us here together today. Park Rose Board of Education begins this effort by acknowledging that we are gathering on the ancestral and unceded lands of the Chinook, Multnomah, Cathlamet, Clackamas, Cowlitz, Tualatin, Kayapouya, Molalla, and many other tribes who made their homes along the Columbia River in the Portland area. We pay respect to their elders, past and present. We acknowledge them as the past, current, and future caretakers of this land.
Thank you, Mr. Wolf. A reminder for our agenda, students, representatives, do you have any questions or comments regarding the agenda as presented?
No.
Okay. Do I hear a motion to approve or amend tonight's meeting agenda?
Motion to approve the agenda.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Any discussion? The motion to approve tonight's meeting agenda passes. Reading of public comment procedure. So if you wish to submit a public comment online before or during the board meeting, please follow the link to the electronic public comment form before reading of the public comments on the agenda. For in-person public comment, please fill out the intent to speak card located on the table by the door and hand it to our board administrative assistant. And next on the agenda, we have presentations from our middle and high school goal presentation from Principal Sweeney and Principal Shea. And you want to stay there or want to tell us?
What would you prefer? Okay, great.
So you can be on camera.
We're definitely gonna be.
And you can see that. There we go.
Okay, so I think one thing that we try to do is present together, because one thing I think we've worked really hard to do is like align our practices and learn from each other. We're a small district with obviously one high school and one middle school, and it's really benefited our students, I think our staff, and hopefully our parents to have some consistent systems in place 6-12. So this is our shared vision. I think we've done this since we revisited our vision, Michael, like post-COVID, so for a while now. And I think the most important thing is that we're preparing our kids to do whatever they want to do, to find their passions, to be critical thinkers, really aligned with that profile of a graduate. And most importantly, in a community as diverse as ours, to be their authentic selves so that they feel like they can show up as themselves and be successful in the path of their choice. And then obviously like be this positive impact on the global society. Low bar.
And so this is some of the data around our AVID elective. I think last time we came, we had high school students come and talk about the impact of the AVID elective on them throughout their schooling. And I think what's important to note here is that we have about 45% overall of our student body at both the middle school and the high school who are in the AVID elective. And we just continue to keep growing with the number of sections that we need and the demand from our students. So Andrea, if you go to that next slide, the next slide really shows like when we first started AVID, we were going out and we were doing a lot of recruiting of students. We were doing things like going on a field trip as middle school to the Trailblazer game right before recruitment. So we could remind students of not only that it is extra work to be an AVID, but it's also a lot of fun to be an AVID. And now I think what we're doing again is just trying to meet the needs of our students and the increase in student interest in being in the AVID elective class. you know, I think one of the stats that stands out to me is that 71% of students are in our Avid elective classes for 3 or more years. Which is really impressive, and that we're taking the time not only when we select in the spring, but we're also looking at different data points throughout our school year and adding students both at the middle school and the high school, even at the mid-year point, again, into our Avid elective class.
And that 71% at 3 years or more is really important. One, it provides our kids with some flexibility because we do offer it. 6-12 that they can like complete 3 years and leave or enter at any point. But Avid's research shows that once they've had Avid for 3 years, they're, I think it's more than 2 times more likely to be successful in like the post-secondary path of their choice than non-Avid students. So that data is really important too. That we know that they're successful once they leave us. They're more apt to be successful if they've had those 3 years.
And then I am always impressed at the data at the end of our Avid seniors K-12 experience in Park Rose. I think it's really phenomenal to look at, knowing that, again, we have 45% of our student body who are served through the Avid elective. 70% of those are students who would be first in family to attend college. And while we're focusing on, as Molly stated, post-secondary options with college or career, again, if we're preparing our students to enter college, we also know that they have those options to enter the career course. And then we're seeing a 96% of our students being accepted into a 4-year college. And as well as the financial part with scholarships.
So you also heard from some non-Avid students. So Avid's really important, but it also helps us do a better job with our systems that we put in place for our kids who aren't in Avid. And I really like this quote because it's not our job to prepare students for something. And I do think that both at the high school and I think at the middle school as well, and some we definitely still see this at times, but there was a lot of adults deciding what students should be prepared for versus us preparing the students for like anything that they choose. And again, there's still work to be done around that, but really like just this fall, actually, there's a student who was going down one path and then something happened over the summer. He's like, oh, I already did my FAFSA and I need to get into a community college right away. And just some of the things that we ask all our students to do, part of their senior project is FAFSA completion and applying to at least a 2 or 4 year school so they know the application process. A lot of times kids will say, oh, I didn't know that was so easy. Now it's a choice. You heard from a couple non-Avid kids, James Waters, who talked so much about the college and career class that's in place for students who don't have Avid. That is a state requirement, but because of our Avid system, I think we're much more capable of supporting the students in that class because we know what it looks like. And you can see that our FAFSA percentage and our college going rate is significantly higher than the state of Oregon. And this is, it's really important. Again, I think the student voice component, and we work to get our kids off campus. We work to bring speakers in. We have a lot of workshops going on during our Wednesday early release time. Because we do want it to be our students' choice and for them just to have as much information as possible as they make some of these really hard decisions that they have to make when they leave us. I'm kind of get excited about that. This was last year's state report card or this fall state report card. As you can see, that number one indicator for graduation is that 9th grade on track to graduate. You can see we're doing really well there. You can see our college going rate and our on-time graduation rate is also up. And these are strong numbers. Of course, there's always room for improvement, but I do want to say like one thing that I'm really proud of our kids about is that if you look at comparable high schools, our students are really outperforming students in schools that look like ours. So I just feel like really proud of the work that they're putting in because we can put the structures in place, but they're the ones who are actually getting it done. So just a big shout out to the kids at the high school. And the middle school too. Sorry.
Don't forget about.
I know, that's it. I think that's our whole presentation.
It is.
And we still have 2 minutes to go.
Alright, students, questions?
It's been great learning from you guys for the past almost 7 years. You guys have done a great job on keeping the schools up and running and making kids get to where they want to be at the end of their education careers. Thank you.
Thank you.
I have no questions, but I'm curious.
Thanks.
No questions, but again, thank you guys, so.
No questions, either. Thank you.
No questions, but great presentation.
Thanks.
I just have one question. Do you have the scores for like the rates for the non-avid kids on graduation and like going to 4-year? Cause I know you had like, the other one was like the total, right, including avid, so
Yeah.
curious like what the difference is between the groups.
So we don't have a pulled out. But do we?
But this is.
But this is everybody.
Yeah,
So that 80% on-time graduation includes all students.
yeah. I was just curious, like, if you see like a big difference like in the school overall, like avid versus.
Yeah, I mean, I will say like, especially the last few years, I'm looking at Andre, because he's like the data guy. I don't want to misspeak, because if I do. I'm gonna make sure I know. No, all of the students who are with us physically at the end of the year, the graduation rate is much higher than this. Do you want to explain how it works? How like keep track of it?
Yes, the graduation is based on cohort model, so every student that entered with us in their 9th grade year in the fall. Is considered our kid, so either if they move, if they go out of state, out of town, if they move districts, we're still responsible, those kids are still on our books, they're still part of our denominator. So no matter how many kids we get across the stage, if those kids fall off at any other point, then they're still considered on our book. So our numbers are normally skewed because our mobility is high. And we don't have the capacity to keep track of our students when they leave us. And also to provide those supports that other districts can. So other districts like PPS, they have folks that are tracking kids that are their students. But plus they also have a system where kids are transferred within their school district. We often try to collaborate with David Douglas, Reynolds, and Centennial, because that's usually where our students end up. But it's hard, we all don't have a mechanism right now for tracking students. But that's why, like even that 80%, even when we looked at it last year, it was roughly close to 90% for the kids that stayed with us all 4 years. But our on-track graduation data would never get as high at over 80% because of that denominator factor.
Yeah, and there's definitely things I think we can do better to keep our kids, but there's also things we have no control of if a family moves or their circumstances change, so it does make it hard. Thanks, Andre, you did like a million times better with that. I appreciate it.
Any questions?
I just want to say it's really awesome to see the process from the school into the high school and the support that this surrounds our students. It's just something to see that. I was curious about Wednesdays, when students are released early sometimes, and then some of the resources they're available, are they available every Wednesday, every week, or do they change or they alternate?
So we're doing, I think every year, and you probably have experienced this as seniors, we've gotten better and better. So this year we're handing out like grade sheets on Wednesdays. And this is trying to flood the hall and be like, where are you going? Where are you going? And I would say as our seniors have a lot more flexibility, a lot of them will schedule work or use that time to get things done. And the goal is by their senior year, they know how to use that time. But with freshmen, there's a lot more structure. So the first chunk of time is really teacher access. And I would say our teachers have gotten a lot better too about figuring out how to get kids there and make that time work. And then the second part, there's usually like some type of activity going on, whether it's like a speaker or college workshop or resume writing. Sometimes we'll do class meetings during that time. But I would say most Wednesdays there's something going on. But yeah.
I appreciate the data. One of the questions I had was, I know that it said that, what the rate is if they're an avid for 3+ years. Do you know what the drop off is between avid from 6th through 8th going to high school? Do you see a lot of kids drop out of avid after going into the high school?
From 8th to 9th.
Yeah, like if they're an average from 8th to 9th or even starting 8th, if they go into high school, is there a large drop off in those?
They typically stay.
And we actually have a lot of kids in 8th who wanna join us, which I think is like a great time to enter. I will say, I think we see more students leave Avid like before their junior year, especially if they've had Avid, because I think, and I mean, again, the nice thing is like, I wouldn't say like there's a good or bad way to do it. It should be pretty student specific, but I mean, there's kids who have what they need from Avid and then that opens up a section for an elective or another AP course. Sometimes we have kids leave and come back, but not usually the 8th to 9th grade year. That's less common.
In general, they'll stay. The only time I think we might see them leave is if they're going to like a private school. And so they're not continuing with us, but in general, 1 to 2 students maybe that affects. And as Mark said, we're typically adding anywhere between 40 to 50 additional students at the 8th grade level.
Yeah, and sometimes you don't start students if they're not like academically ready, because they have such a strong like reading support at the 6th grade, especially. They'll say like, you can do Avid, just hold off a year until you get some more skills and then go away. So
Awesome.
yeah.
Thank you guys.
Yeah.
Just wanna say thank you, you know, my young adults now, went through Abbott since middle school and, you know, they had their plus and minuses about it, but, I like the fact that, you know, we continue to increase, and then before it was like, you're offering just the Avid student, but now it's offering to the whole school, so it's great to see that, you know, the students are taking advantage of that, and also, you know, just being able to see the data and where we stand with the state of Oregon, you know, I always want to be the best, right? And then I want to give a shout out to the College and Career Center too as well, because I love seeing their posts of, you know, their percentages and increasing and scholarships that are offered. Also like to see that it's not just focused on, you know, going to a 4-year or 2-year, they're also posting stuff about trade schools and anything else that's out there for our students, because, you know, each of our students, potentially we might not take the 4-year path or the 2-year path and, you know, trade, you know, just between my young adults, I have the mixture of a little bit of everything, so it's nice to see that they're also growing that and looking at it from the center of like everything that they're getting feedback from the students. It was like, you know, we want to see this, so you know, just from the years that I've been following them, it's so nice to see the focus and the improvement there. So, yeah, just want to thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Watson, thank you. Alright, thank you. Alright, next on our agenda, we have in-person public comments, and we do have 2 intent to speak. So I'll just do a little bit about the in-person public comments. So in-person speaking during the oral public comment portion of the meeting may offer objective criticism of district operations and programs. The board will not hear comments regarding any individual district staff members. Comments or complaints regarding staff must be directed to the superintendent to ensure any association contract governing the employee's rights will be followed. As a reminder to our board members, inquiries or comments from the public will not generally be responded to immediately by the board or board chair and may be referred to the superintendent for response at a later date. If comments are made about an existing agenda item, the board will save the remarks until a portion of the agenda. So I will call forward Joshua Bott to welcome you to come. You have 3 minutes for your comments, and then please begin by stating your name, whether you're a resident of the district and speaking on behalf of an organization and the names of the organization. Okay?
We've done this.
Welcome.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Thank you for being here.
Okay, hi everyone. My name is Josh. I'm here to represent the high school and specifically the English department at the high school. This is my 7th year as a teacher here at Park Rose, and I teach primarily English. I teach English 9 and AP Literature, and also Abbott. So shout out to all the kids here in those classes. As many of these folks know, getting me to keep this to 3 minutes is going to be a real chore. So I am going to do my best. So I'm here to talk about the use of or the implementation of AI in the classroom. We know that a lot of policy is being crafted as we speak about this, and we have multiple teams that have been meeting now for really a couple of years about this issue. And I'd like to reiterate some of the asks that you all have already heard from our English department. I'm just going to lead with that because, again, if I don't, I'm afraid I will never get there. So ask number 1 is that teachers at Park Rose, at least at the high school, are allowed to and enabled to teach about AI and not with AI. The second thing that we're asking is that there are clear protections for student data when it comes to LLM usage and AI usage in education, and ways for families to opt out of that with privacy in mind. And that there's an intention to retain educators, and that there's a focus for professional development on equity and not in teaching with AI. We have these concerns primarily, not primarily, but in conjunction with some of the budget concerns that I know are really heavy on all of our minds as well. So let's be real. I got into this gig because I love words, I love language, and I love people, and I love working with people and connecting. I believe in the power of language. I believe in the power of story, and I believe in the power of human connection. And at least in my experience in the English classroom, the use of AI and LLMs really divorces us from a lot of the critical thinking that we need to hold communion and to hold each other accountable for having high standards when it comes to learning, when it comes to writing, when it comes to reading. I teach from a quote every year in AP Lit by Paulo Freire that reading the word is reading the world, and that reading the world is reading the word. And I think that's very important. Freire actually believed that language was how we came up with thinking, that language preceded thought, that we couldn't get to thought without language. And so writing, in my mind, it's a process of discovery. You might have an idea, you might have an inkling of what you're going to write, but you don't know exactly what that is until you're given a chance to actually formulate that thought using words, using language. And I think that to me is a dire necessity that we maintain that in the classroom. And that's my time. So we'll end it there. Thank you so much for listening.
Josh. Any questions?
Thank you for your insights, Mr. Mock.
Thank you for your insight, Mr. Bott.
No questions, but thank you for being.
No questions to make you slow.
I got a question for Mr. Bott. So was like the new rules about the phones, have you seen like the use of AI like gone down, or like people finding other ways to use it?
That's a really good question. I would actually say that if I were to really think about the data, if I were to graph it out, which of course I haven't, I would say yes, that I have seen a slight decrease, but I would say slight. And I also think that might be somewhat owing to the fact that it's less obvious, right? If a student had their phone out in class and was using it, blatantly to copy down from like an AI tool on their phones, there's less of that happening. So there are fewer moments of obvious AI use where I'm catching it in the act, like, hey, what are you doing? Like, let's write this thing. You can do it. You have the words. That sort of those conversations that I used to have more of. I don't have as many of those now because of the phones, having gone away and us just doing a better job of managing that. But I would say it's a slight decrease because people find ways. Like, y'all are smart, you're resourceful. If you want to do something, you're going to figure out a way to do that. So probably more moments of it happening kind of behind the scenes that I don't see. Obviously, that makes it more difficult, like catch. Yeah. Thanks, good question.
Josh, any questions?
No questions. I appreciate the presentation. I think, you know, from my standing, AI in the arts is something that I'm against because AI typically just homogenizes everything, takes out the individual, the voice, the experiences, and the alternative lives that all of us can learn from. So I appreciate the presentation. Thank you. Awesome.
No question, but I do appreciate the refresher, the information they share with us to and get us, you know, back to those, you know, for the discussion that we've had in the past days and we kind of just where things are and how we move forward.
I just appreciate you coming to know your perspective and your passion for English and literature and reading and all those things, and then advocating for the kids in the department. So I think it's something to do. So thanks for taking some time.
I'm gonna say also as well, thank you for, you know, presenting to us. I know that, you know, we're living in a world of AI. I mean, either myself at work, you know, it's you know, something that is being asked of us as well, you know, and understanding that it's, for me, it's like, it's a tool, but I don't want it to be something that overtakes my own thinking and the importance of that, and so figuring out and finding the balance of it, and how, you know, it's there, so like, but how do we find the balance, but also like not taking away, like you said, the critical thinking piece of it, because no matter what, we need that, you know, and no matter what walk of life you end up in, we still need you to be critical thinkers. So yeah, so thank you for being here.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. I mean, one hope, and I've said this before, is that at the end of the school year, we meaning like a team of district folks, including teachers, some of your colleagues or our that team, we're going to make some recommendations just about the guidelines. I mean, policy is going to be everything from like we want to be a human-centered organization. So I think the first thing that we have planned to do is really kind of define what we think learning is, because I think some of the concern is like, will learning then somehow be taken over by a tool, or will we be relying on the tool for kids to learn? And that's really something that I know that our organization, our staff in general don't want to do. So really what we want to do is have an evolving policy that addresses, like, I do think that students in general want guide rails to say like, this is what you can do, this is what you can't do. The hard part is ensuring like, how much do we restrict and how much do we, you know, and how much support are we providing to staff as well. So the board will be looking like carefully at policy, and I know that you guys have taken your own time to come and share your thoughts, and I do think that the evolution of that policy and your feedback will be really important, because that's really just like, what do we think the guide rails are? I think one instrumental thing is that I do think media literacy is a really important part of students from kindergarten all the way through 12th grade, that they understand. And I use the term media because I do think that media is more and more influenced by artificial intelligence. Like AI is kind of under the umbrella of media and what our kids were seeing. And I know that oftentimes, like, so you know, like the state of Oregon right now, artificial intelligence and media literacy oftentimes is kind of put to the expectations of the English standards. They just kind of oftentimes will take new mandates and say, well, this is going to become part of what English teachers teach kids. And my hope is that, yes, I know that it's really important to our English department at the high school, but I want this to be a collective district-wide effort in terms of what those guide rails are going to be. And I do think some of that includes like how much time are our kids on screens at school, right? Particularly for our youngest kids. And those are guidelines that, you know, that our policy will illustrate, and ideally you'll have opportunity to look at that before the board actually adopts those policies and say like, hey, I noticed this piece in here, because I think that that's just another way I think you could be really helpful and supportive of what we want to see as a collective.
Excellent, thank you.
Thanks for coming.
Of course, thanks for having me.
More poetry slams to come.
Oh, you know it, April 30th.
I was gonna ask.
Yeah, if anyone's interested in coming to Verslandia, so it's downtown at the Arlene Schnitzer Concert Hall. We're sending 2 poets again this year, which is really exciting, from Park Rose from the high school. And yeah, it's always a lot of fun. We do really well.
I've been at the
We have
last
one
few,
more
and it's
recently.
amazing.
Sorry.
3 in a row, yeah. Not that anyone's counting. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
We have another intent to speak. We have Catherine Knock here to join us and come up. Thank you for being here.
Thank you. Just telling Josh, it's funny because we both public speak all day. It's like a little bit different.
Yes. It's having just done it is.
Yeah, so my name is Catherine Knock. I'm a chemistry and biology teacher at Purpose High School. Yeah, so I'm here today to share about my experience with AI, predominantly AI overview, in my science classroom, and my concern that it feels at odds with the SEPs, which stands for Science and Engineering Practices, that are part of my NGSS standards, that of course my science classes based upon. My class, I teach chemistry and biology from grades 9 up to 12, and the classes are set up as skills-based courses. Meaning that one of those skills, which comes from my standards, is about obtaining, evaluating, and communicating information. This includes deriving meaning, evaluating sources, summarizing and critiquing ideas from former research studies. What I see in my classroom is that the temptation of AI overview is just too powerful. And to go along with my state standards, having this there is impacting their ability to respond to scientific information. Yeah, another concern of mine is that AI is not a neutral choice. There's a politic that comes with it. And regardless of opinion, it is a product that generates profit and requires natural resources. These required resources are the exact subjects that I teach. From nuclear chemistry to biomes, these are inseparable from environmental racism, access to resources, and bioethics. In my courses, we study the push for increased energy and water demand for small modular reactors to power data centers. We study the health impacts of communities living near data centers and the consequences of ill-informed water use policies keeping data centers cool. The reason that I love teaching Park Rose and I thought out to be in this district is because my students are fierce advocates for what is fair and just for people. And believe me, they know something is fishy about AI. I have serious reasons to believe that the more AI students are seeing in their school and as the push for it increases, I worry that it undermines the trustful relationships that Park Rose is built upon between staff and students. Yes. Lastly, I just want to make it really clear that the impact, the concern, and the distaste for AI in schools is felt beyond the humanities departments. As a teacher that is preparing my students to have successful STEM careers, I need them to be ready to ask critical questions when presented with information. Teaching students to ask creative questions about data resulted systems paves a strong path to deliberating and at the very least protecting the diverse populations that our district serves. Can I say my direct ask?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, I agree with my colleagues and any other teachers that are like voicing concerns around AI, but my small ask is just to permanently install a front blocker against AI overview on school computers.
Can I ask a quick question? Can I be? So I'm curious because is it working in the high school? AI overview.
It is alive and well.
Okay. So I will ask the question because we turned it off. And does it work on your computer, like on student computers, on Chromebooks, that like, do you guys get the AI summary?
Yeah.
It's just happened and I've heard mixed results. So it might be a personal.
The one,
Sorry.
so let's communicate, like, I'll email you tomorrow, cause I formally asked for it to be turned off at the semester. So I'm curious if it's still working, like, maybe the filters are, just that's not.
Yeah, in my classroom, we're still seeing as I walk around.
Okay,
And it might be the difference between like the Google summary and the AI overview, but just something that is like,
yeah, I
it
hear.
just feels so.
Right, the first thing that they're getting is just a, you know, like, especially if they're asking a scientific inquiry question, they're gonna get that summary. All right,
It's just so tempting to read.
we did get, the reason I wanted to ask right away is because we did get that asked and our team did talk about it and we said, well, let's turn it off and see if it works, because some of the filters, like some of our navigating is figuring out like what works, what doesn't work with our ability from our tech department. Because we work with the, like all of our technologies through the MESD, like the servers and so forth. But we do have we have the ability to toggle certain things on and off. But my wondering is that I know that Google's becoming more dynamic and those new things show up often. I mean, I can just do that all the time. Okay, my apologies. So all those things.
Thank you, that was really.
Yeah.
Is there time for like a concerned parent to just ask a question? I don't know the general overview of the meeting, but like, why on earth is AI even a contender? Like, why are we even considering its usage? Like, I have a elementary and a sixth grader, and just like we just spent this whole summary listening to our wonderful principal from high school and middle school talk about like what makes a student successful and preparing them for what their dreams are, what they want to achieve. And nothing like, never would it be like, oh, I'll use AI shortcuts to achieve like whatever would make me successful in any field. So why is this even a question? Why on earth do we want to subject our students to like just consider the source? It's like handing out a packs of cigarettes and then saying, well, guys and gals, like only smoke one and see what you think about it. It just seems absurd. It seems absurd to me that we would not have just a really clear cut policy around AI usage. Like, why is it even on the table? Like, why are we even considering it? And are you going to explain to parents? Like, I feel passionate about this too, so I'm not trying to be overly animated. I'm honestly very curious. Like, what will you explain to parents? Like, okay, here's our safe AI measures. And why would it ever be safe? Because like, I don't know, we hear anecdotes all the time about like the usage of tech in classrooms and kids, finding workarounds for YouTube and Roblox, and it's maddening as parents. It's maddening.
Yeah.
So like, I don't understand why it's even interesting to anybody.
I think, yes, I think the challenge is we're navigating a system, like a good example is like the Google Suite system that we use as our email and documents. All of that is integrating AI. So I think what we're really trying to determine is like, what are the guide rails? Right now, our students at school, they can't access ChatGPT, they can't access large language models. That's turned off.
At school.
I think what we're navigating is kids go home, like I have a high school student in my household, and I also am unsure, like what are his teachers asking him to do, what's he allowed to do, what he's not allowed to do. What we want to be able to do is very clearly say to families and our staff, like, here are the guide rails. And that for us as an organization of Park Rose is that we are human centered. We want the people doing the teaching. We want the kids learning from each other and the teachers, not from the AI. However, AI is in their hands every day, right? Like inside of school and outside of school, in that they have phones. And I do think the phone policy helps with that. But ultimately, I think artificial intelligence is becoming integrated into everything that our kids see and do, and I think that it's important that we have a scope and sequence that helps our kids understand like the literacy of media and its impact, so that when they are using, because what we don't know is in 5 years, what are these tools going to look like and what.
Not good.
Not good, no,
Not gonna look
but
good.
but I think that that's part of what we're talking about, why we have teachers coming and talking about it, is because we know that we're gonna have to have a policy that evolves with what artificial intelligence is doing. Because
But doesn't that wreak a little bit of harm reduction? Or like, again, we're handing you a pack of cigarettes and we're just like, use a few things. But make sure you take big breaths of fresh air too. Like, to me, that just reeks of harm reduction, like. I understand it's out there, but I don't know why we have to monitor a policy that accepts it or utilizes it. And maybe the students have different ideas about this. I don't
Yeah.
know.
I mean, I think,
can give a quick answer. So it's permeated the culture. And the school was trying to close the door.
Okay.
That's the real issue, is that if the school system doesn't catch up with something that the culture is embracing, then the kids are at risk. As a resident, not in the system, I appreciate the fact that school district doesn't want to be caught flat-footed in terms of how education in our district is impacted by something that's being embraced by the culture, because we're not sure it's good for the kids, or we know it's not.
We know
good
it's
for the
not.
kids.
We know it's not.
Either way,
Yeah.
either
No, we know
way,
it's not.
if the school district doesn't do what they're doing, it's, the door is open.
So I'm gonna bring it back, and if you wanna continue, I would ask you to fill out the intent to speak card or come into our next meeting, something like that, and get continue the
I'm not
conversation.
sure if you see more.
Yeah, or with talk to Mr. Brooks, but students, did you have any questions for our speaker?
No questions, but thank you for your interest in Harlem.
When it comes to like smaller AI programs that don't necessarily do the work for you, such as Grammarly, which just helps you like it's grammar mistakes, would those also be blocked with the thing you guys were talking about?
Yeah, the AI summary.
I think. Yeah, I don't think that my ask is for just like. Not, I don't feel like quite confident in saying no AI should be a part of like.
Right.
Education or like a totally conservative like. No policy, because as a STEM teacher, I think that there's a lot of ways people use AI. But I think that. Anything that is like replacing the work of evaluating courses is where my main concern is. I think the Grammarly conversation is a different conversation and a different ask.
No questions, but thank you for sharing so much.
I truly cares
It,
so much.
it is like a problem that I see, and I think it kind of gets ignored. So thank you for caring about our thinking and not just like us just trying to get our students done. Because it's like you're in school to do more than just like assignments, like to really clean it. We're just like having AI do it for us. We're not waiting. Thank you.
You're all set.
No questions.
No questions today.
Thank you for lending your chemistry and my perspective too. We've heard from a few English teachers, so it's nice to have, your perspective and how it's being used in the classroom that we see. I was just thinking, I did a search today because I was trying to figure out my new Outlook program, and I kept doing things I didn't want to do, and so I Googled it, and it had this AI summary, and it said it was not correct, and it's. I know that, but other people could go in and wouldn't know, and they're doing it the wrong place. I could see how, especially science, that would be a problem as well. So thanks for caring about that. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks again for voicing your ask. And I guess my question is like, have you or do you see students bringing in their own personal tablets or laptops to the classroom to do the work versus like schoolish and?
Oh, that's a good question. It's maybe like a small handful of students that have their own devices. But at this point, it's such a frustrating problem. I was just telling my colleague this, that I don't have them do research on computers anymore. I just look up like 20 reputable articles and just print them all out.
No, thank you very much for your perspective and sharing it with us. So that we can take that into account, knowing kind of what the real world impact of it is.
You know, one thing that I learned just from hearing my young adults also and my daughter talking about it is about the impact in our environment and in our water and just everything that, you know, like she talks about to me and I'm just like, you know, I didn't even know that, you know, like because I'm not really trying to like and so now I'm interested, I'm learning more about like what are the impacts and again, like at work, it's something that they're having us, you know, wanting us to use more, but you know, and I'm like, well, I'm still at school, still writing things down, I still research different things, and so like, but just learning about, it's not just about the impact that it's having on our students and their critical thinking, but also just overall, like you said, like the environmental and us being aware of what that, how that overall impacts us as humanity overall. And so just learning more about that I didn't even know, just talking to my daughter, she explained it more to me. And because she's like, I'm anti-AI, right? Like she has friends that use it and then
They're like something fishy about this.
yeah, you know, and so like just learning from my young adults as well as, you know, this, I'm not with the age, I'm not as good as they are, so, but I just appreciate you coming here and give us your insight and also, just again, learning about just the environmental piece of it as well, and then also like, you know, like you said, that you wanna make sure that your students, you know, are in STEM, like when they're out there, they're competing and they're making sure that they're using their critical thinking, so I do appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll take back in, so around the same thing we're talking about in this era, right? Yep. So the one thing that would be helpful, and I'll do this tomorrow, I'm gonna be at Russell with actually the leadership team tomorrow. This is showed up, which allows you to kind of go directly to a switch. If the students access like your machine will allow you to do that. But my understanding is that we're able to toggle these two things off. But if it's still on the copy side, we'll be letting you see what we can get about. Like, the intention is to have it on until we really know whether we want to use it in the future.
I have seen instances of it working and not working since that way. So I think we're.
Yeah, it's part of it's navigating the technical part of like how to restrict the use for student machines, because that even on the Google, like a standard Google search now, AI mode is a choice, which then takes you directly to Gemini. So it's becoming like they're too tied together. I think like your typical internet search is going to go, unfortunately, go the way in terms of how the values are working, and that's really the part that we're trying to navigate. But just on the short term, we'll check in. So thanks for thinking. Yeah.
All right, the next item on the agenda, we have our budget update. My our CFO, Chris, and her superintendent, this is what it said.
Here's the fun part of the day. Hey. Thank you, buddy. You calisthenics. I failed. First thing we're gonna talk about is the tax anticipation note 10. About 4 o'clock this afternoon, I received the 16-page document called POS, point of sale. Some of you may have been around when we did the pension. It's a similar document we'll have to go through. There are 5 districts that have chimed on to this short-term debt instrument. It will be roughly $18.5 million. We represent $3,700,000. So by next Tuesday, I have to have my responses to the 60 pages and fill in all our questionnaires in reference to that. Last Friday, I met with the auditors and prepared all the journal entries for the auditors, and they approved them, so we're ready to go when we do get the cash. It will sell basically in mid-May. Somewhere around the 25th to 26th of May, they'll sell the $18 million on the market. It's going through US Bank. Once it sells, we'll have the closing documents on June 1st. And then June 4th, they will distribute the funds through the district. And they will, in our district, different than the other districts, we put our funds in what we call a tax anticipation note fund. So it will have its own fund where it can accrue interest. And then when I need the funds, which is before the year end, I will do what we call a journal entry transfer out of that fund into the general fund to allow me to, let's say if I need to have any money before end of June 30th. And then I'll have another transfer in next year's budget, 26-27, that'll allow me to transfer money into the general fund if I need it. Then we'll get the majority of our property taxes before December 31st. We'll get them in mid-November, early December. And then we will have to pay back the debt by December 31st. So it's a very short-term debt, less than 12 months, but by 12/31, I will have to pay back basically the $70,000 in that we have owed is what we've offset. It's the operating expense or what they call issuance cost. And then the net of that we will receive, and then we'll have to pay back the $3.7 million and by December 31st. What we have tonight is a resolution to the board, similar to what I've done before, that authorizes me to act for the district, and that you guys, as the board, approves that we need these funds to continue as an operating agency. Right? After this, I'll bring back the finished POS. Once I have it, signed it, and it's done, you'll be able to see it. You do not have to approve all of it through the board agenda, but I do bring it to the board so you can see it, but it doesn't have to have a finalizing resolution. This resolution will do what we need. We'll have a resolution basically to amend the budget, because when I built the budget for 25-26, I didn't build in a transfer in tax anticipation note. So I will have to do another supplemental budget, something I'm loving to do. That basically allows me to move money out and then move money back in if I need to. So nothing exciting other than a lot of work goes into this. And we're down an accountant right now because she can't help with the budget. She's helping with bank statements. So it's me doing this and Jeannie's trying to do the budget as much as we can. So any questions on the tax anticipation note?
When you say we have to pay it back by 12/31 this year.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's a short-term debt, and because it's based on the ad valorem taxes that we receive, I can't assess more property taxes. I wish I could, but I can't. I have to use whatever I get, I give it right back once I get the property taxes. I can't increase my property tax rate because our rate is $4 and some odd cents for our general purpose rate. I cannot increase that rate, and nor can I increase my debt instrument rate for this short-term debt. They won't allow it.
And just a reminder, this is because we are more reliant on property tax revenue. We go through periods every summer and fall where we're cash poor. And because we have less money in our ending fund balance, Cherie does not have direct cash to go to, particularly in an instance where we're payroll. The most important thing is paying the people who work here and paying them for the work that they do. So this helps ensure that we have the cash on hand that will be needed in the fall. So that when November comes, when our most of our tax revenue comes in November and December. And then obviously, that's how we'll pay the debt back.
As most districts in the POS, you'll see they're similar to us. There are two districts that had a negative balance at the end of 25. So we were not a negative balance, and I don't portray to get a negative balance, because that's an impetus for somebody in this district or somebody at the state for them to take us over, because we cannot manage ourselves fiscally. I'm not at that place. I can manage the district. I'm just a little short on funds, so this is an instrument to bring us some funds for a short period of time, then it goes back. It doesn't increase anything in the general fund. It does not. I don't add money to my general fund to say I get more money in the general fund. What comes in goes right back out. It's just a float. It just gets you to where you need to be.
And you just, like you said, you'll have, it'll have its own line item, and then when you need it, you move it to the general fund, right?
It'll come in through our LGIP, our local government investment pool. That's how the money comes through. From the local government investment pool, that's basically, we have one for a TAN, and it has money in there now, right? So when I want to move it from that local government investment pool into my one that I want to make my main checking, then I can basically just do an entry through the bank. Similar like an ACH, you transfer it from X to Y, and then I transfer the funds. But for budgetary purposes wise, or governmental accounting standards and GAAP, I have to do all these different journal entries to make sure that I'm in compliance with the federal and state law. I also will be subject to an S&P Moody's evaluation again. I just went through one. So I get to do another S&P Moody's evaluation and questionnaire early May. So it's part of the going out for a debt.
Because that is a part of that.
Yes.
Any questions?
They're like, I don't want to go into your profession. Thank you, Mike. All right. It's not a fun process, but it's a necessary process. Talking about the budget meeting, budget training is this Wednesday. All we really want to understand how governmental accounting works and what we do and what we're not doing. Will you be presented the budget on Wednesday? No. What you'll be given is an overview of what you as a budget committee can and cannot do. Right? What laws you must abide by, what rules you can do, what you get to play with, and what decisions you get to make. Right? And then once that's done, as you all know, and you've been through the training, some of you have not been through the training. You'll go from that training into the following week on the 22nd. I will then present a balanced budget. It will not look in the same format that you have seen in the past, as if we have a brand new software. And my one person who's doing it hasn't quite got it up to speed, so it may be Cherie doing it in Excel. So it might be a little clunky, but we'll make it work. But at that point, that's what we're going to be doing. And then from there, we'll have the second meeting, which will be May 6th. That is the day before my daughter graduates from college in Rochester, New York. So I won't be here. I will be via Zoom if I'm necessary. If it does not get approved, basically at the first meeting. Sometimes it has got approved, sometimes it's not. And then we'll have another meeting roughly at the end of May for the third budget session. Any questions? And we'd like everybody to be at the meeting on next Wednesday so you can actually understand. If you cannot be there, please, and you've never had the presentation before, please meet with me and I can go over the presentation with you. Because once you get into the budget presentation, there's not a lot of opportunity for you to ask questions of what you can and cannot do.
Us too.
For this Wednesday, right?
Yep.
Wednesday.
You're not a voting member at that point, but if you want to, come and when you want to be a board member in the future as a voting right member, yes. But at this point, you don't get a voting member,
It's not required to go to these.
not next Wednesday, no. If you just want to have fun and learn more about my job,
Yeah,
you can do that.
that way.
He's like, wow.
What I will, what I do want to share with the group and please bring questions. Is that, you know, Sheree and I have been going out to schools and presenting kind of the general overview of the budget. We did that initial one with both labor groups. I know Brenda and Paul were able to attend and see that overview. We are balancing a budget that has a deficit of $3.3 million. So students, I think the most important part of the budget conversation is understanding that when Sheree presents the budget on April 22nd, she will highlight in overview the spending reductions that we make. And most important of those spending reductions is staffing. Like you can't make up the $3.3 million gap without impacting staffing, and that unfortunately means that there will be a reduction in force, meaning that people will get laid off, positions will be lost. And you're the sole high school in the district, right? So unfortunately, there's only so far we can go in how we distribute the reductions. Those folks who've been on the board, Aisha, you were here last year, and so you kind of went through that emotional process and seeing like certain choices and how they're the impact that they have on our community. And I will say the way we're balancing the budget, none of it's good, right? Like because it means the impact is service to kids and the people who work in our district. And the hard part about being a smaller district is like, you know, the people that are going to be impacted by these reductions. But unfortunately, we have a duty to balance the budget. And your duty as student board members is to ask questions, to scrutinize maybe decisions that you think aren't great decisions. Maybe there are unintended consequences that we don't know about. Because I've been sharing with folks and alongside Sheree in these meetings that it is known that sometimes what we present, and like Sheree's not going to present the idea of furlough days in this budget. And we believe that furlough days could potentially, they would save positions, they would save teaching positions. We have the right, we have the obligation to bargain those issues with our labor unions, and first and foremost, see if they're interested. And obviously that impacts our families, our kids, because the potential. I'm not a big fan of losing school days. But you're weighing two really rough things, right? The loss of school days versus losing staff. My history with budgets is it's really hard to put staffing back when you take it away. Simply because we are slowly getting smaller and smaller, and that's having an impact on our budget every year.
We started with a $4.8 million deficit. We're down to 3.3. And this is where the rubber meets the road, and very tough discussions have to be made now. So what I will present on Wednesday is not names, just the concept of where the cuts will be made. There'll be no furloughs. Because that is not my job to communicate a name. My job is to communicate how to balance it. And then it goes from there from Michael and the cabinet and the other leadership to decide it. Actually, which positions will be those, and there will be bumping. So whatever name I put probably will not be the right name. So I don't like to publicly say something. It will just be, this is it.
And that's for our April 22nd meeting.
Yes.
And for the April 22nd meeting, we would like our student.
They need to be there.
Here. And then if you haven't been a part of the budget training, you can be here this Wednesday. 6:30.
Yes.
Any questions?
And I'll have the financial statements at the end of the month.
And then in the April 22nd is the one where we get our packets if we
You'll
want,
get a packet, it may not be as big and
Yeah,
thick as what I've
yeah.
given to you in the past,
or via PDF, right?
something, yes.
Okay.
It'll be a summarized by appropriation level,
Mhm.
which is the governmental guidelines, so.
Okay.
Until I can get the budget book software to start working.
Thank you.
Next on the agenda, we are going to recess into an executive session, so we adjourn at 7:48 PM. And shifting back and.
Yes.
All right, we're reconvening at 8:22 PM. Are we good? We're good. Yes. All right, next on the agenda, Board of Education. The topic is board stipends, and I know we had this on our agenda last board meeting. Were we supposed to make a decision this board meeting? Cause I thought we wanted everyone to be here, but Paul's not here.
Like, I just know Sheree needs an idea of if you plan on, if you're leaning towards a maybe yes, she needs to plan for it.
Okay.
So if 3 of you are leaning towards a maybe yes, that would be information.
I think Joshua, when you did.
I think
Go ahead,
everybody
not
spoke,
Joshua, go ahead.
yeah, I think you all spoke.
We
here.
spoke to,
Your
but
feelings
Josh,
around it.
Josh, the only one that.
What I do?
Well, sign this one, it's just up to you. Now,
It's an old man.
so, last meeting we had, board stipends on the agenda, but, and we had discussion about it, so, Sheree needs to know as a board, where we're leaning to. And I don't remember everyone's, do we need to go through this,
There needs to be something so I can create a resolution.
yeah,
And that resolution is something that I would appropriate, or we made a decision that because we're fiscally no funds, the board has decided not to move forward with this year. So something we have to make a decision every year.
do I need to go through when I call your name?
Yeah,
Okay.
If you're gonna
All
discuss
right,
it, yeah.
let me read this out. Since policy, BHD involves school board member stipends, each of us has a potential conflict of interest. I will now ask each member to briefly declare this conflict for the record so that we may proceed with discussion on this topic. When I call your name, please respond with, I declare a potential conflict of interest for the record. All right.
I declare a potential conflict of interest.
Hello,
I declare a potential conflict of interest.
Joe.
I declare a potential conflict of interest.
And I declare potential conflict of interest. And so the considerations are, ORS, I had to take my glasses off to see. It's reading. ORS 332.018 limits the stipend to $500 per board member per month plus COLA. Board members may choose not to accept the stipend by notifying the business office. Stipends will be issued monthly and may be prorated for service for incomplete months. The discussion that we had in our last meeting was determining which one we would like to move forward with. So number one is the amount of the stipend is limited to the amount included in the budget. The stipend amount will be approved by resolution of the board, or no board member will receive any compensation for services. What we had discussed is when this came up before was that we would evaluate it every year, I believe during our summer conference. And have a discussion about where we're at, do we have the budget for it, but also we would vote on it to figure out like where everybody's at in regards to, are we gonna move forward with it? Or so then like that, like Sherry said, she would have to make a resolution for it. And I can tell you right now that I don't remember where everybody, Mariah, where you were at with it.
I thought Sherry said that the summer didn't work for something.
Oh, it wasn't the summer.
You'll have to make the decision,
Yeah.
basically, let's say your before fall break, so when I start building the budget, I could build it into the budget.
Alright, correction, before fall break. So, but for now, you need us to make a decision
Yes,
because we're working on the budget,
yes.
basically, right? Okay.
And then the second one, the stipend amount will be approved by resolution, is that the one where we would do it in, right, like we're talking about now? So
If-
that was.
Typically, we would do it in July when I do all the other ones, right? You would tell me basically, let's say, before in December or the first board meeting in January. And I could go, like I do the, let's say, the IRS per diem rate, it always changes in January. I could come back with a resolution in January if that's what you guys require. Or it can wait until July, when I do all the resolutions that are fiscally impacting the district, and it can be part of the July. Either way,
If we do an approved amount, right?
yes,
And then,
but I have to
it
be
could
able
be
to have
up to
it.
500, doesn't have to be 500, it could be
It,
less.
it could be once a year,
Mhm.
the max is $500 a month per board member times times the 12 months that you're here.
So it'd be like $30,000 for all board members.
And your budget is not 30,000 for the entire board, so, just so you know,
But if the board took action on it.
they would have to.
You would have to budget.
Okay. So have a,
We decide each year.
we decide each
Yeah.
year. The stipend amount, but for this year, we're gonna do zero, what was that?
Zero.
Go for it. No more member will receive any compensation for services for this year.
For fiscal year going into 27, 20,
26, 27.
yes.
26, 27.
So Andrea, that's what you guys have to vote on it though.
Joash, you weren't here, so I don't know,
No, that's my feelings is that, no compensation for 26, 27.
so for 26, 27, no compensation, and then number 2, we'll revisit.
Basically in December, January of 26 or 27, December of 26 or January 27.
I was saying, no board member will receive any compensation for services for 26, 27. We're revisiting it again. December or January,
Andrea will put it on the agenda for December of 26.
and then I believe Paul was also. No board member will receive any compensation, but we will revisit. Any further discussion that we need to have?
Okay, it's an action item later on the agenda.
Have an action for a motion, yeah. Okay. So I just wanna be clear, we're gonna move with the action item would be no board member will receive any compensation for services for 26-27, but we will revisit it for either December 26 or January of 27 for the following
27,
27, 28. Ooh, I'm not gonna be here.
Shush.
Oh, wait, no, wait, I am.
I was gonna say, I just looked at your.
Let me,
spreadsheet.
I am. Okay. 28, 29. Yeah.
You're not gonna get bothered.
I know. Okay, all right. Next, any other discussion? Do you have any questions?
No.
Next on the agenda is our budget vacancy action item. So due to the recent resignation of Michael McLean from our budget committee, position 3, and with our first budget meeting scheduled in a couple of days, the board must quickly fill the seat. To do this, we will first consider a motion to waive the standard one meeting waiting period required by policy DBEA. If that is approved, we will then move to appoint Wendy Culver to the vacancy. Wendy was a vetted finalist from a thorough interview process in February and is ready to serve for this upcoming budget cycle. Do we have to do the motion now or the action item?
After action item later.
Board self-evaluation, so our deadline was for, I don't know.
Or 5 weeks, something, yeah.
But so we need to pick, select a new deadline for review. Our next board meeting is April 27th.
That's a business meeting. I don't know if there's time, Michael, on that agenda for them to discuss.
No, it's just gonna go a deadline.
Deadline, got it.
I was gonna see if we could pick a date. I know some already, thank you for already completing it. I was not one of them, I will find myself out. Cause we would have to have discussion in the next working session, right?
Yeah, so if we could get it the week before May 11th.
April 30th,
Oh, okay.
does that work?
Yeah.
For those of us that haven't completed. Anyone else here gonna call themselves that?
I actually did it.
See? I need to do better as vice chair. April 30th, is that good?
Yes, that's fine.
I didn't wanna do May because then we're gonna really be.
Yeah.
Let's give ourselves, let's keep it in April.
Yeah.
Okay. 4:30. Staff appreciation. Sarah Burns' message of gratitude. Thank you for asking our students to do such a rewarding project. They really enjoyed reflecting on teachers that have impacted their lives while making the spoons and spoons rest and stickers. And as always, thank you for supporting the Park Road School Screen Printing Art Department. And with that, we have our certified appreciation delivery sign up. And that is going to be, what week is
The
that?
week of May 4th.
May the 4th. The week of May 4th. So go and sign up. Do you want us to sign up by what date?
The week before. Midweek, the week before.
Look at your calendars and sign up. The next on the agenda is our superintendent.
Thank you. So another action item tonight is the school year calendar decision. We did hold off on voting on that last meeting. So I just wanted to revisit the feedback to refresh our memories. Family feedback and staff feedback was pretty similar. About 2/3 of families prefer that August 31st start, that is the week before Labor Day. While some of the discussion the last time was concerns about starting Labor Day because that puts us ending school next year on the 21st of June. The other thing that I want to mention on top of this that, the board may want to consider at our April meeting is like should we look at multiple, like I learned that some boards actually have the practice of adopting multiple year calendars. So you can kind of see into the future. Next year presents a similar problem. But tonight we need to vote on the options. We have a handful of parents who've reached out already wondering like, when are we? And I've heard promotion for both. Right? Promotion for the Labor Day, promotion for the 31st. I just want to provide any opportunity for questions or comments about the calendar, or if the board's ready to vote on it tonight, then we'll get communication out to the community tomorrow once you've taken action.
So, our student reps that are coming back next year, I would like to hear from you.
Yeah, so me and Freddie talked about this a lot. Not joking, we actually did. So I'll speak on if we go, I'll start off by, listing the options and the pros and cons, because I did some think about this the other day. If we go option one and, we start later, the only problem would be, since I'm a senior, would be the building towards graduation. Because normally we get that week off, and the week off is filled with senior events, right? And I feel like, because the graduation is the 13th.
It's still slated for June. Hold on one second, I have it. It's still slated for the 10th.
Yeah, so it would be a lot of dead air. And I feel like that kills the build up for graduation, because you're building up towards it, and if there's a lot of dead air, then it's like a little wonky. But I know a lot of people would also want to come back the 31st because it's the same thing. And I feel like a lot of families go on vacation that last week of August, because they think, oh, school's about to be coming back around, so let's have one last week that summer. Option two seems like the more like responsible, like, they're both good options, but I feel like number two is definitely the more smart one if you want to have a better last week of school. Because with that last week, like I was saying, the events would be more packed, it would be quicker, and I feel like the time would blow. Because the breaks stay the same. But that's where I stand. I think Freddie is the same thing. We talked about it, and yeah, what do we vote? Like, what do we? Just give my opinion. That's my thought process. And I don't know about you guys.
Well, that's if you have siblings in the, any of us have siblings that will potentially be impacted by the schedule. Speak up on that and have it from that perspective.
I have a freshman sister who'll be going to her sophomore year in high school, and I'm not just gonna say that we don't do a lot like during Labor Day weekend, but I think getting out early for a kid, it seems a lot better than getting out later, because you've already wasted like 2 weeks in the summer, even though you still have that. It's the same amount of time. I don't know. I just feel like a lot of the kids would like the second option more.
Yeah, I agree. I also have a brother that's a freshman, and then I have a brother in elementary school. I think the second option is more smarter. Like, our family doesn't really do much like the last week. I feel like it's usually like the beginning and the middle of summer, so I don't think it would like impact.
I was asking a few friends of mine. I was asking my Avid class actually, because I wanted to see what the student body would think, especially if they have their own saying it. And I would say they're kind of split. I think a lot of them are 50-50, just for the fact that they don't like when it looks like August, right? You don't think about going to school in August, Park Rose is kind of, shaped to be a September start, but not much of the August start, so they were pretty split, but I think it leaned more towards option two. I think that was
earlier.
Yeah, just the earlier summer, and then like they said the same thing about the events. It would feel better because we also have early graduation like a day or two before the actual graduation, and so they were just agreeing on that.
One thing to keep in mind for sophomores through seniors is actually your first day of school won't be until September.
Yes.
Because
that's right.
The first day is ninth grade. The first day is 1st through 5th grade.
Yeah.
And then sixth graders and fourth graders. And then like, so 7th, 8th, 10th through 12th would all start on September 1st.
And Labor Day is on.
Labor Day is on the 8th
On the
of
8th.
September. Yes.
So be
It'll
we can
still be a holiday.
So if Labor Day is the 8th, how would the first day of school be? Isn't that a holiday?
So if the 31st were chosen as the first day of school, if the board votes for the 31st to be the first day, then the result would be those upperclassmen would have the first as their first day. If Labor Day, if the post Labor Day start, I'm sorry, the first day, Labor Day is the 7th, the first day would be the 8th.
That's what confused me.
And then the seniors, you know, sophomores, juniors and seniors would then, their first day would be on the.
I was just
the
confused
9th,
because.
which is by the last day of school.
Okay.
All right, Mariah, any comments, discussion? You have little ones in the.
I know, I would love to just go to town with the calendar. But I personally, I prefer option one, but I think that, you only get 1 year as a senior, and I think getting to do all the things, you know, like you're talking about, the lead up and all of that, and getting out of school, yeah, I would pick.
George?
In the description, it says Juneteenth consideration. Can someone elaborate? I know that Juneteenth is,
Yeah.
I'm just wondering.
Yeah, so the Juneteenth consideration is that Juneteenth is on a Saturday this year, so the holiday comes on a Friday. That's why the Monday at school comes into play. It just makes an awkward thing because we have the holiday. It is a recognized holiday that we do not go to school, and so since we won't have school on the observed day, which is Friday, everybody would have to go to school on Monday. And that's the problem. That's kind of the problem of option one.
I myself just think that option 2 is the better option in this case.
For me, it's the same thing, I just wanted to hear everyone and.
Yeah.
And I know the community is also split, right, like.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, the survey shows 2/3, but I have heard from parents from both perspectives, everything from like, we take our vacation the last week of August every year. To you know, like going till the 21st is crazy, right?
Yeah.
I got that little comment, so.
I'm kind of also with Mariah, the comment that she made about seniors, and it's just. You know, when we get to be senior, it's like you said, and so looking at it from that perspective as well. And then also like, I know other districts start in August, and they've seemed to be able to make it work and manage it, right? So, and I think that even when we start right after Labor Day, I mean, probably some students still miss the first day of school, maybe, because.
I have a question. Do you remind me the districts are?
Sure. Yeah, so Portland Public starts on the 31st. I believe, I don't know if Reynolds has finalized their action, but they were proposing the 31st. Centennial is after Labor Day, Gresham Barlow is after Labor Day, David Douglas is after Labor Day. David Douglas has an asterisk because they would start on the 31st, but all of their bond projects need every ounce of time, so they selected that one. But also keep in mind that they have like early release days like throughout their year. They don't have professional development days the same as we do, so it doesn't put them in the same kind of pressure point as our PM days. Yeah. Yeah. So they actually will finish school before the 21st. But for us to get our 167 days of school, we would have to go to the 21st.
So that is on an action item, right?
Yep.
Okay, that we have to vote on today.
So there are 3 policy revision actions, and I wanted to highlight each of them. You talked about board member stipends, so that discussion's already happened. I ultimately took the public complaint KL policy, and you may remember from some earlier public complaints that happened, there's a 10-day timeline for the superintendent to investigate and respond. And we found that like if there are multiple complaints on top of one complaint, there's two things being done here. It provides, now granted, my goal is always 10 or less days, but this provides a 30-day window for me as the superintendent respond. Andrea, correct me if I'm wrong, but the board would still have 10 days to hear the appeal. Is that correct?
Yeah, we just gotta keep the overall amount under 90.
Under 90 days, which we're doing that. And the other piece that we're asking for is that like that one complaint is one complaint. So because we've experienced this year, the reason for the timeline extension is that we've received like one complaint that has like maybe 10 or 11 underneath it. That just requires more time for me to investigate and determine whether or not there's corrective action that's necessary for the district. So that's what KL is about. And if you feel like you need more time, we can always suspend that vote, postpone it. But that's on the agenda. And then for JFCEB, personal electronic devices, one of the things that we received from the state is like, hey, great job on your cell phone policy, except you need to have a request for personal electronic devices exception. And this is beyond a student who's on IEP or on a 504 plan. This is if a parent or family presented an issue that they say required their child to use, we have to provide an exception. And so this administrative rule would allow us to provide that to the family and consider or not whether we would make an exception to the rule for their child to bring a phone to them. Would not be very likely, like this, we haven't had any requests of this other than we have some students who have individual education plans where we've made accommodations for them to be able to use we have students who use devices to help them communicate. And so we've allowed for phone use in that case. Happy to answer any questions that you might have regarding that.
And that would be elementary to high school, right?
Yep. The next piece, inter-district transfer hardship considerations. So one of the things I am gonna propose to the board is because of our financial issues, I think that it's really important that we do our very best effort to hold on to students. And so we obviously do have students who make requests for inter-district transfers. Oftentimes we're bringing in more students versus them leaving. However, because every student makes a difference, what I mean by restrictive application for IDTs is that we will only consider like really serious hardships. Our policy is that we would release up to 20 11 to 12th graders, kids who transferred at the end of their high school career, that we would allow for that. What that means is that we will send out communication May 1st, but we will also let people that we're not taking applications unless it fits under the policy guidelines. But we also know, like I've been telling staff, like in August, I do get families who are super upset because I've denied the transfer. And again, hardship from childcare to familial situations to medical are often that. And what is presented before you is just a screening rubric, because we really feel like it needs to be scrutinized a little more versus just like the heartstrings that potentially a parent might pull on a particular day, is they definitely, that's part of why I meet with them. So I just wanted you guys to have a chance to review this, understanding that ultimately, if they don't like my decision, they do have the ability to come to you and say, we don't like that your policy is restricting us from being able to transfer. And this is something I think all districts are having to address, because more and more, transfers are hurting the finances of the district. Any questions about that?
So this will be one that will come back to an action item, or
I think it requires action. This is just for your information, so that you guys know, like I'm clamping down on transfer.
Yeah.
And you know that potentially there might be people who aren't happy about that ultimately. Graduation is June 11th. Just want to make sure Andrea will be checking in about folks' attendance to that. I student rep, so you know, like I defer mine speaking. I just do a quick intro, say a few words, and then I ask the senior representatives to like either decide, like all four of us are going to talk and say something, two of us are. This is unique. I think you're your biggest this is our biggest group of seniors. So as we meet before the end of the school year, what you guys want to decide is just to say, like, here's how we want to speak, because I defer my time so you can speak on behalf of your experience as student leaders, because you're obviously not only school board members, but you're also class executives, I guess I should say. And usually they kind of just tell us, like, you've got 3 minutes and this is how much time you have to speak. Yes.
3 minutes for each person, or?
I would say, to be fair, like it feels like the speeches have been 3 to 5 minutes long with like the collective ones. So yeah, you would just be saying like, I'm speaking for a minute. Like when it was 2 people, they were probably each speaking for like 2 minutes, maybe 3.
Okay, yeah.
But we also want to be thoughtful because at least I prefer, I don't know how the elected board members feel, but I would prefer more students are talking versus adults talking. It's your graduation.
So I've already written a little bit of a speech for me.
Awesome. Awesome. So anything that we can help you with, let us know. And then board, I think Adolfo, this will be your first graduation. I think everybody else has been to the graduation and kind of know the logistics of how that works.
It's more of like getting there. Yeah. And where room you need to go to put your hood on.
Yeah.
And party.
Andrea's great about helping lead us to the right place, but it's just.
You know that you, in the last few years too, like we've had board members speak as well.
Yes, I know Chair Taberon's gonna be gone because he actually has a another
A niece is
a niece graduating, so that graduation's conflicting with ours.
And I guess I'm bringing that up because I don't know if anyone would be interested in speaking on the graduation or giving the time, since we have 4 seniors on our board, and giving them that time as well so they can have more time. But of course, I don't want to take away from speaking at a graduation either, because I've done it, it's great, but also.
The only time I want to is next year.
Next year.
My daughter.
All right, put it in the books.
Put it in the books.
Brian, Adolfo, you guys okay with deferring your time?
All you guys.
Okay. You guys know what you're gonna say?
So I have a little.
Awesome, great. All right, we'll follow up with that. I have kind of some proposed dates here for summer meetings, the organizational meeting. The options here are either doing a virtual meeting on the 2nd or 4th Monday in July, or just the typical date has been July 1st. I don't know, Sheree, if we have any other rules of thumb around that organizational meeting. We just need to conduct it sometime in the month of July. So whichever of those meet. Andrea, you think maybe just doing a email survey of the board and asking them? And then the proposed retreat date would be August 13th from 3 to 8 p.m. And then we would have our business meeting on the 24th, usual date and time. So we'll poll you on the July, so you guys can look at your July dates and availability. And then
it's virtual.
Just go with.
In July.
Yeah, July we do the virtual. Just want to keep you informed that the 8th grade, like typically board has to approve any travel outside of 250 miles. Just under the 250 miles, the 8th grade honors band is doing a trip to Great Wolf Lodge. So I just wanted you guys to be aware that they're going up there. It's not quite the 250-mile requirement, but I just wanted you to know because we have kids leaving town, going out of state. We have been invited to sit at the Central East Portland Rotary fundraiser on Saturday, May 16th from 5 to 8:30 p.m. This is, I received an invite from Terry Neisler, who was former president. I don't know what his official role is now, but they have invited us to be there. And then of course, the 21st annual Park Rose Educational Foundation dinner auction and fundraiser is coming up in a couple of weeks on Saturday, April 25th. From 5:30 to 9:30 at the Airport Sheraton. And I believe the Park Rose High School Life Skills Classroom is the special appeal. Yeah. Lastly, I just want to do a few shout outs that are not part of this, but I wanted to be sure to mention them. I wanted to shout out Dana Haas. She is a Park Rose High School student. Her artwork was selected to be on the Bike Town, the new Bike Town that's going to be out in front of the high school. And she was honored on Saturday by Mayor Wilson, and they unveiled the cool Bike Town thing at an event that was hosted at Park Rose High School, just focusing on Earth Month. And it was super cool to see Dana and Sarah Brannon, the high school art teacher, was there to celebrate with her. So that was super cool. Since we last met, one of our board members became a state champion in basketball. So I want to congratulate Juan and the team for super exciting. And our Park Rose Unified basketball team won their third state championship. And I think it's important that you all know that we have a new doctor in the house. Mr. Fidlow defended his dissertation on Friday. Honored to work with you, Andre, and I know you worked really hard to get all that done. I'm sure there's some revising and stuff to do, but just super honored to work with you, and I'm happy to call you Dr. Goodlow from here on out. I know you probably don't want me to. Congratulations.
All my person, you're like looking at the end. No one's gonna be here doing homework.
That's right. So yeah, lots of awesome shout outs. All right. I think that's all my stuff.
Right. Thank you. Lots of great things to celebrate for sure. Do we have any?
We do have a public comment. Shall I read it? Because I'm not.
Yeah, because I didn't come prepared with my laptop.
Got it. So Amy Fox is the name of the person making the public comment regarding middle school band. We all know that the arts programs are first on the chopping block when the budget gets tight. I just wanted to express how important band is for our students. And there's a name indicated Smith is an incredible teacher and motivator for my student. Because of his drive to be an honors band next year, he is working hard to bring all his grades up. Please consider how enriching the band program is when working on the budget for 26-27. Thank you.
Thanks, Kim. Thank you very much.
You April 22nd, you'll see how we're proposing to reduce spending, and we're doing our very best. I mean, a key guideline and priority is not to cut programs. There are reductions, right? Like reductions to programs. Obviously, some of you who were on the board last year know that like there was plenty of public concern and comment about music programs, and that definitely has been put into thoughtful consideration around the spending reductions this year.
So you wanna come to the budget meeting on April 22nd, because it's public.
Yeah, and my hope is after the 22nd, I would then send out a community message about the general kind of spending reductions and also to highlight the things that we didn't cut or reduce. Yeah.
Thank you. All right, on to our action items. Do any of our student reps have any questions or comments regarding the action items?
No, ma'am.
No, all right, we're like, let's keep it going. All right, 14. Oh yes, okay. Do I hear a motion to approve or reject the tax anticipation note resolution in a principal amount not to exceed 3.7 million?
I motion to approve the tax anticipation note resolution in principal amount not to exceed $3,705,000.
Do I hear a second?
I second.
Any discussion? The motion to approve the tax note resolution passed.
Oh wait, yay or days?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
You're out of practice.
Never out of practice. Do I hear aye?
The motion passed.
Cool.
Thank you, everybody.
Alright, 14B, policy BHD, board member statements and reimbursements. Let's see here. Okay. I move to revise the board policy BHD to include bracket, selection number 3, no, and 2, I'm gonna say 2, because no board member will receive any compensation for the 26-27 school year, but revisiting number 2 in our on December 26th or January 27 for the 27-28 school year. Do I hear a motion?
I move to revise board policy BHD to include no board member will receive any compensation of services for the 26-27 school years to be revisited in either December 26 or January 27 for the 27-28.
Any, do I hear a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. The motion to approve the policy BHD more board member stipend and reimbursement passed. Do I hear a motion for the budget committee vacancy for position number 3? In light of the recent committee member resignation and upcoming April budget meeting, given our recent thorough recruitment process, I move to suspend the requirement for policy DBEA that mandates a 1 meeting waiting period between the announcement of a vacancy and the appointment of a new member. Do I hear a motion?
I motion in light of the committee member resignation and the upcoming April budget meetings and with our recent recruitment process, I move to suspend the requirement in policy DBEA that mandates that 1 meeting waiting period between the announcement of vacancy and the appointment of a new member.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. The motion, for the budget committee, it's been a long day, guys. Budget committee vacancy for position number 3 passes. Do I hear a motion for budget committee appointment for position number 3? I move the Parkrose School Board appoint Gwendolyn Wendy Culver for Parkrose Budget Committee position number 3, term ending June 30th of 2026. As a reminder, Wendy was a finalist in our February 2026 interview process and is being appointed from the current pool of vetted candidates to ensure the committee is fully seated for the 2026-2027 budget cycle. Do I hear a motion?
I move the Parkville School Board appoint Gwendolyn Wendy Culver for Parkville Budget Committee, position number 3, term ending June 30, 2026.
Do I hear a second? Any discussion? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed, say nay. The motion to appoint Gwendolyn Wendy Culver to Parkrose Budget Committee position number 3 passes. Do I hear a motion to approve or reject policy KL public complaints revision as presented?
I move to approve policy KL public complaints provisions as presented.
Do we hear a second? Second. Any discussion? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed, say nay. The motion to approve the KO public complaints revision as presented passes. Do I hear a motion to approve or reject the policy JSCEB and AR personal electronic device revisions as presented?
I move to approve policy CEB and AR personnel devices revisions as presented.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Yeah. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed, say nay. The motion to approve policy JFCEB and AR personal electronic devices passes. Woo! Haven't done this in a while. Any future agenda items? Okay. Correspondence or announcements?
No correspondence or announcements.
Upcoming board meeting, our next one will be Monday, April 27th for our business meeting. And then upcoming community events, community engagements, there's the links to our high school athletic schedule and the link to our school calendars for the middle school athletics. With that, I adjourn, it's 9:06. I thank you. Thought we were gonna be here till 9:30.